All right, welcome back. So I was hoping that some of you will be familiar with the eight anti-seducers. Anybody familiar with the eight anti-seducers? Anybody in the chat? Let me know if you're familiar with that. Have you heard of it before? Anti-seducers. Over here we talk about relationships, but we don't. The accountability stuff is basic bare minimum for any human beings. Okay, you should, if you're an adult, you should understand, you should already understand what we call accountability. Or just learn how to hold yourself accountable, right? Responsibility as an adult, right? Responsible for yourself. So I don't spend a lot of time talk. That's lame behavior, personally, in my opinion. Okay, over stressing accountability when we're talking about romantic relationships is lame. It's just lame. Okay, this is adults. You're dealing with adults. They know what accountability is. Okay, and if they're not being accountable, it's because they don't want to be. They just don't want to be. They don't like you like that. They are literally taking you for granted. They are mimicking the level of self-respect you have for yourself and self-love you have for yourself. It is what it is. So it's always my fault. Both women and men are saying that. You realize, gentlemen, do you realize both men and women actually say that? So it has to be always women's fault. Men will say it always has to be men's fault. At that point, two to get two, it has no meaning. That conversation has no meaning. We're repeating ourselves in circles and we're confused, right? So we got to take it further beyond that, particularly because this is a romantic relation. So we talk about seduction here, right? Seduction is not always about kiriwa. It's not always about kiriwa. It makes kiriwa easier if you understand it, right? But not just that, it makes everything else you want easier. Anything you want from another person that you're in some type of relationship with, it makes it super easier. Okay, and there's a, we talk about. Let me see. Let me go back to here. Right, we talk about power seduction. Seduction is basically a way to replace controlling behavior with influence. Right? Instead of trying to control the other person, I want it now because you're supposed to hold yourself accountable. Right? Instead of doing that or leading with that, you're using influence. You're building your influence. You understand it's a function of time, a process, patience, right? And you understand that it's actually much more rewarding because when that other person is doing for you, it comes from inside. It comes from their own personal will. All right. Hold on one. Does that make sense? And it's better. It feels better when the person. How many times, ladies, have you said, "Why should I have to tell you that?" Right? Why? Because you prefer that the person is doing it from their heart. If you have to tell them, it kind of messes things up for you, right? Right? It does, right? It messes, like, it's not sweet when you have to tell them what to do. But when they do it and you're able to say things like what's the phrase that's normally said, or like, it's the thoughts that count, right? The fact that that person actually thought of you, you not having to tell them what to do, it makes it 10,000 times much more sweeter. Whatever it is that they did for you. Am I right? All right. Am I right? All right. No. I guess you're saying no to what I said earlier, right? You're right. So we like to talk about seduction, as opposed to, oh, so you can't control your woman. Are you trying to tell me you don't know how to control your woman? Tell me something. Tell me the story. Right? So a man shouldn't be able to control them. Do you want to tell me how you're not able to control your woman? Right? Remember that guy that said, I told her to stop it. Shout out to Donovan Sharp, right? I told her to stop it. I told her the second time to stop it. And by the time the third or fourth, fifth time, I called her all types of names. Wahala. Jesus. It's an issue. Okay. So we talk about seduction, and I like to I think I always talk about frame of reference, right? Um, Frame of reference will allow you to learn seduction. We take it layer by layer. Yoruba people sọ pé ibi pẹlẹbẹ láti ń mọ́lẹ̀ jẹ layer by layer, right? So today I want to share with you the 8. Okay, you were saying you don't know what the anti-seducers are. The anti-seducers are basically the character traits, the person you don't want to be. There's a good chance you're going to be one or two or three of these people, but you will be aware. Okay? You'll be aware, and when you're aware, it's half of the battle won. Does that make sense? Hit that like button. Hit that like button right now. Thank you. Awareness is half the battle won. Okay. All right. Chia says, are you dealing with an animal or a human being? Control a woman. Call. Control a woman. Like, no, you should be able to control your woman. And it's always like, in my head, it's like they close one eyes and they do. It's like, are you not able to? Are you trying to tell me that you can't control your woman? So let's talk about the 8 anti-seducers. This is in full details inside of the book, The Art of Seduction. Seduction is an art, it's not an exact science, okay? It's not stuff that you can say, this, did that, if you did that. That's not how it works, okay? It's an art. For everyone, when it comes to application, it's different. There's some principles that we'll continue to cover, okay? But you need to practice this. Practice makes perfect, and it gets better with time. It's not an exact science. If you think of this as an exact science, you will come off as lame. Human beings have incredible radar for bullshit. They can tell if you're faking stuff. So very, very, very important to understand that this is an art. This is not an exact science. Very, very important. Number 1 is the brute. They call it the brute. Basically, a person that tried to use force, right? Control, right? This is anti-seductive behavior. What does the brute looks like in real life? You're just supposed to. That's just the rules. Obey. Obey and follow. Right? Brute is anti-seductive behavior. It's no wonder why people are chopping breakfast left and right. The more rules they set up, the worse it gets. Boundaries. Okay? Boundaries are good. Okay? But like everything seduction, it's a double-edged sword. That may just be you saying, you low tolerance. Okay? Are you aware that boundaries is double-edged sword too, right? So that's why some people say healthy boundaries, right? Who are you drawing boundaries for? For yourself? I think boundaries are much more effective when it's for yourself. So you can know what to accept and what not to accept. If you try to put boundaries on other people, there's a good chance that you're number 1. Okay? The more you put boundaries on other people, the more they figure out how to scale the fence. Can work. Have you noticed that they tend not to work? Right? The brute is an anti-seducer. Some of you are that just naturally, but if you're aware of it, then you can just be aware. Okay? The awareness is half the battle won. It's not an indictment, it's just something to pay attention to. Number 2, the suffocator, needy behavior. Okay? To you, you just love your partner. You just want to spend a lot of time around them. Right? You're on the phone, you're like, my break. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's just about being aware that, are you paying attention to everything else that's going on beyond, Now, if it's expected, if this is what you guys agree to, remember that seduction in its best form is unity, right? If you're on the same page, you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to play, quote unquote, play games with the person that you're on the same page. Does that make sense? There's no need to. I don't worry about this when I'm dealing with my wife. I don't. But I'm aware that these things exist. Okay? But these are the anti-seducers right here. She is, I'm sharpening my heart of seduction skills. Yes? It's awesome. Yeah. Number 3, moralizer. We talked about this in, funny enough, honestly, I've read this book quite a while back. Okay, it's a while back. So I didn't remember. I just pulled this back up today. Okay. But I didn't realize it was part of the list when I put this number 10 here. I said relationship poisons, right? Right and wrong obsessed. A person that they can't think outside of what is right and what is wrong, how the person is wrong. They're always looking for whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? That's the first thing that comes to their mind. They want to know, when they're having a conversation about romantic relationships, they're like, we need a more balanced conversation. It needs to be balanced, right? So what they mean by that is they want me to tell this one how they are at fault and then go to the second person and say how they are at fault. Listen, we've been doing that for how long? How is that helping the divorce rate? Good work. So number 3, moralizer. That's an anti-seducer. Listen, it's not, like I said, I need to keep saying this. It's not an indictment. It's part of people's personality a lot of times. Okay. But if you are not aware that, it's true. I'll be looking for those people. I'll be looking for those. Who is wrong? Who is at fault here, right? As opposed to wait. Whatever just happened is wrong. It doesn't feel right. How did I contribute to this? Or how can I contribute to the transformation I'm looking for? All right. We're talking about romantic relationships. I'm not talking about your boss. If it's your boss, to boss when, fire your boss. If you can afford it, okay? But number 4, the tight word, cheap. Cheap people, them they collect. Cheap people, they collect. Hey.
That is God.
Oh God. Cheap people, like, okay, so cheap, obviously, all of this stuff, if you notice, they're all subjective. All of them. Subjective. Depends on who is observing it, depends on who is feeling it. And that's why it's an art. That's why active listening cannot be replaced with any of this. Because you have to know what you're dealing with, right? So you have to pay attention to the person you're dealing with, right? So to you, you might just be like, no, I like to save the penny. If you save the penny, my big rich uncle was like, if you save the penny, the millions will take care of itself. It's true, right? But because it's rich, everybody in the village think is what do you call it, miser, frugal, like in a bad way, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people that want to drain you. Because not only do they want to drain you financially, sometimes they want to drain you emotionally. No. You should not. Don't be that person that said, because I don't want to be a tight wad, let me just give woto. Don't do that. That's not what I'm talking about. But cheap is, just know that cheap is an anti-seducer. If the other person is feeling that way, if that's a person that you care for in a romantic way, if you come off as not generous, that's an anti-seducer. Okay? And you can apply this in, it just means you're not generous. Sometimes you're not generous with patience. Like you want to call out the wrong right now. Like, now you were wrong with that. Right? No, but when you did and then you end up in an argument. Why do you end up in an argument? Because you have an obsession with, you're probably number 3 as well, moralizer. Yeah. Stingy, right? Yeah. So it's not about you defining stingy. Are you coming off as stingy to the other person? That's what matters. That's all that matters. It's not the dictionary meaning of stingy. It's not what it looks like in your family where you were raised. It's about, are you coming off as that to the person you're trying to seduce? That is an anti-seducer. Okay? Let me see. Wait, what that mean so? 17s out of 22. Hit that like button now. I beg now. Thank you, Lady Navarra. Shout out to you. Gomez says, many books out there need updates because the world keeps evolving and revolving. Yes, except this book. Except this particular book. And I don't think the Bible needs update. It just depends on who is reading it, right? But books in general, they when people, like I tell people, when they read a book, don't read it one time. Read that book at least 3 times. I personally recommend that if you're reading my book, you read it 10 to 15 times. Because there's some every single time there's something else you discover, right? So books by default, because they are text, there's only so much you can get, especially if you're reading it only once, right? Whole lot. Especially when the topic for the day is to address one set of people. Doesn't mean the other side does not have their own day of discussion. Exactly. Right? I always address the person that's complaining to me. And if you are, like, for example, other platforms, they want to empathize with the person that's complaining. That's fine. But over here, I'm looking to help you with ways that you can take control. I'm helping you to identify your seductive powers. That's all I want to do. If you're looking for a place where they will call the other person in the story who did not hear their story evil, like, just think about that for a second. Let me just call, like, since this is a man complaining to me, that women are terrible. Hobby. Right? No, I'm not gonna do that. All right. And if you're not open to a little criticism, but I could tell because you're probably not asking questions. You're probably just narrating. If people are narrating story, I don't interject. I can let them narrate. It's their story. But if they turn it to a question, they're asking me for my opinion. I will not be having opinions about a person I haven't heard their story. Could make sense. Okay?
Not be juju be that.
Will make sense. Let's see. Doesn't mean the other side. Okay. For stingy people, Igbos call them akagum. Hand that is glued shut. Yeah, it's not attractive. Oh, that's the word I haven't used. These people, these anti-seducers, are not attractive. Right? Everything else being equal, for this one particular behavior, they're not attractive. Okay? Right? Because we talk about seduction, attraction, right? Example, how many times you don't change your phone to upgraded version? I sure say these gadgets don't chop your money tire. Frugal is different. Stingy is a whole different ball game. Yes, that's true. Frugal is management, almost like money management, right? Stingy is like, but again, it's not even that. You could be frugal. One person can look at you as frugal. The other person say, no, you're stingy. It's about who is the person you're trying to cook attraction with. Who is the person you're trying to seduce? That's the only thing that matters. I'm talking romantic relationships. Okay? Yes, even though if 9 out of these 10 people says it's frugal, it's not stingy. Emotions don't be your mates, okay? It's the person who you're trying to seduce. How you're coming off is what that matters. Does that mean you have to now start to give woto? No. It means you need to be aware. This awareness is all you need, okay? Because remember, there are 8 anti-seducers, right? There's a good chance you're naturally 3 or 4 of this list, between 2 and 4 of this list. In my opinion, just being aware is more than enough. Just being aware, okay? Right? That's more than enough. But if you're being aware and also you can make certain moves accordingly, obviously if you're aware, naturally you'll move accordingly. It doesn't mean you should now start to the pool or pour out of empty cup. If you pour out of empty cup, that's also an anti-seducer. I'm sure it will come up in a second. Hold on one second. Let me see. Yeah, 10 to 15 times. Yes. Suggested in the book. And yeah, trust me. All right. The book that I read that got me to where I am, that I'm talking like this, I literally follow that same principle. Right? Go back and say, no Bible, Allah. The Bible only needs meditative understanding as we grow spiritually. Yeah, we're saying the same thing. That's the whole point of reading 10 to 15 times. Right? Gum. Gum is what we call glue in Nigeria. Yes, now. Gum. Is the same gum as in gum, chewing gum. Right? Anyway, let's continue. Number 5, Bumbler. The weird self-conscious one, okay? That person that's asking you, some of you are going to be triggered in a second. The one that you already know you like, the one that's like, in fact, you don't taste time already, but he's asking you, can I kiss? And you're like, right? If you like him enough, you say yes. If you don't like him, if you're already on the fence, you'll be like, no, you can't kiss me. Right? If he kisses you without asking, there's a chance you'll be like, you will kiss back because you already like him, right? If you don't like him at all, you're like, no, you might even go to the police and say, this guy sexually assaulted you, right? Dangerous, right? Dangerous. All right. I know. I know, right? But yeah, let's push the envelope. Okay. The person that's always asking you, I hope that's okay. Oh. So it doesn't have to be about Kerewa or anything romantic. The person that's always on, like, oh, is that okay if I do? They're asking you every time, is that okay? They're self-conscious, but it's coming off as weird. Like that weird, there's a weird energy that comes with that, right? Go and say, wait, to kiss on first date, I'm lost here, Ola. No, it doesn't have to be first date, but it's the first kiss, right? And you've been waiting for it, like, cause you like that person that like, in fact, it's against your rules, but you've been waiting for it. But he's now asking you, right? But that's not you. If you like that person enough, you're like, that's polite, right? If you're kind of on the fence and you just have to be in this person's space all the time, and now you're kind of looking for an exit plan already, and now it's asking you, like, is it okay? He actually said, is it okay to kiss you, right? That weird self-conscious thing that he's doing right there, even though by way of principles on paper it aligns with your rules, that weird vibe you got from that, yes, that's anti-seducer. Okay, but let's take it away from that. Let's take it away from about romancing somebody, right? Just the idea that the person lacks confidence, they're overly self-conscious, they don't know where to make a move that to you seems obvious. That's the anti-seducer right there. Okay, sometimes people just like you to be spontaneous. It demonstrates confidence. Confidence is sexy as hell every single day of the week. I don't care how woke you got in this generation. Confidence is sexy, both from a man and a woman. Okay? And the point of saying this is because it might rub off against all your pragmatic talking points and ideologies of the new age. That's actually particular. It's not stuff you can bring down to exact science. Remember I said that, right? So being self-conscious can also interweave with the line self-awareness, right? But what's wrong with being self-aware? No, it's not about the self-awareness part. It's about timing, right? This has to do with timing. Learning how to time when to move in closer and when to back off. 3 steps forwards, 2 steps backwards. That's still forward by 1 step. Learning how to time, learning how to back off, learning how to measure, learning how to read a room, right? Without asking for permission to read a room. A person asking for permission all the time in certain respect, in certain spaces, will come off as weird. Weird vibes. Weird. Right? Weird to who? To you, the person they're trying to seduce. It doesn't mean weird to the whole world. Shout out to Amoya's Corner. How now? How you did? Thank you. She said, "Oti sexy you in your confidence, right? Right? It's every time like, is it okay to do? Is it okay to do? Is it okay to do? Like, no, like you have to be able to time it. And what if you time it and you were wrong? You have to be willing to take risk. That's part of the sexy thing I'm talking about. Take some risk. Cross the line sometimes. Yes, cross the line. Okay, gentlemen, be careful. I'm gonna be tapping butts. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, these are the problems. Okay, that's what we're talking about. It's about timing. It's about timing. The weird, particularly the weird self-conscious thing, it has nothing to do with self-awareness or self-aware. Self-aware doesn't mean you have to take actions. It doesn't mean that. It just means you're aware of the emotions running through your own body. And that's the prerequisite to be able to understand other people's emotions, right? Let's go to number 6, the windbag, the talkative. This one may be crossing that line where you want to call somebody a narcissist, right? But it's not narcissist. You can't diagnose people, but it's could be a narcissistic trait. They can't see anything else that's going on outside of them. They're just talking, right? And to you, you're like, damn, let me walk away. Let me wander away to another room. But they keep talking, right? That person, right, is a windbag. That's an anti-seducer as well. It's a turn-off, right? It could be a man, it could be a woman. It's especially worse when this is a man. Okay? So I can't say anything. No, you can ask questions, brotherly. You can ask questions, open-ended questions too. Not how many body counts do you have? Do you bring something to be? I want that to be a yes or no. If it's not a yes or no, that's lame behavior, brotherly. That's anti-seducer right there. Okay? You already have an idea what answer you're looking for, and you're looking to do a follow-up narrative after that. You don't know, you're not aware you're doing this, right? It's not an indictment, but this is an anti-seducer. The windbag everywhere, right? Number 7, the reactor. I think this one should be obvious. You're triggered. Not just that you're triggered. Anyone can be triggered. You are actively looking for things to trigger you. When somebody is saying something to you, you're looking for things, something they said. What do I say about red flags here all the time? I think that people should learn red flags. I think so. I think you can overdo it. I think this generation has overdone it. All they see now is red everywhere. When somebody is, instead of you to go on a date, right, or to engage your woman, your wife, in the spirit of wanting to understand, you're engaging them because you want to hear something they said they're wrong, and you want to fire back instantly. The reactor. You're looking for excuses to be triggered. Listen, it's subconscious. Okay, it's not. No, I don't do that. No, it's not stuff you're supposed to admit to. Jesus, oh my days, you're not supposed to admit to that now.
Oh my days,
no, you're not supposed to admit to that. It's stuff that you can probably notice when you start to self-reflect, and you're like, or maybe you've heard a few people told you that you're triggered. If you hear people say you're triggered from time to time, there's probably a good reason. Okay? That's not attractive. That's not attractive. All right? But again, if this is who you are, again, just awareness. Okay? Okay? Sometimes, not sometimes, all of these are part of people's personality a lot of times. Okay? And it's not genetic. It doesn't mean, oh, my mother did it, so I must be doing it. Relax. It could be, but relax. Focus on yourself, always, okay? Number 8, last but not least, the vulgarian. This person has no self-control. Oh, mora. That's how Yoruba people say it. Oh, mora. Right? Remember, this is almost contradicting. With the nature of these things, right? You look at 2 of them or 3 of them, it looks like they're contradicting each other. Right? But remember that you could have 2 or 3 of this. This is not indictment. This is just part of people's personality. There are certain spaces where this play out or this show out in your behavior. Right? Number 8, vulgarian, no self-control. It's not contradicting 5. Number 5 has to have that weird vibe in it. And remember, it's not the same because it depends on the individual that's being seduced, right? You're always being seduced. Oh, you didn't know that, right? Yeah, you're always being, okay, let's say it this way. You're always being influenced by your surrounding. Then there's somebody, if people can know better starting today, somebody is actively trying to win you over to their side. They're selling you something, right? If they're coming off as they don't have no sense of timing, similar to number 5, the sense of timing part of it, right? That number 5 part, right, is the timing thing. It's not about, so I could never do that. No, it's timing. 3 step forward, 2 step backwards. Relax. The less you say, the higher the chances that you are the most powerful in that conversation. Now, it depends on the context. I would teach men, I'm letting you know, obviously, I will teach men to ask open-ended questions on dates, right? If she's more cerebral than a typical girl, she might be coming ready to ask open-ended question. Answer it. Finish it with a question, with your own open-ended question, right? Answer it. Give just enough. Say less than necessary. We've talked about this before, right? Ladies, you really don't have to do that because of the social construct we're in, but it's good to have self-control. It's okay to say, am I talking too much? Have a good time, have fun. If a guy is not letting you have a good time, have fun, that's a red flag, okay? Right? If it's talk, I don't have to tell you that. It depends on who you are anyway, right? You might be appreciative of a person who talks more. Maybe that's the kind of person you are. It varies from people to people. It's about knowing yourself, right? And knowing what something rubs you off the wrong way, right? But when you are aware, it's half the battle won. Okay? That's number 8. Right there. Chinya says there are some questions that you have to expound on a little bit that is not a yes question. Yeah. Yes or no. You can ask yes or no question, by the way. But it's just depending on why, right? That could be a part of a bigger, remember, it's all part of a bigger conversation. You should be there to be getting to know people, right? I'm just saying there's some people that tend to get stuck there because they're looking for a gotcha moment, right? That's what they're looking for, and it's lame behavior if they tend to do that over and over. Okay, so if somebody said, no, I'll let you explain, but is it yes or a no? It depends on their attitude, their vibe, the vibe about when they're doing that, right? But there's some people you could just tell that this is about to go left. This is just who they are. If everything else were equal, if you isolate that, it's an anti-seducer. Okay, because of why? Because of number 3, the moralizer, the police. It's just he or she is looking to police something. It's annoying behavior. Okay. Triggered and highly irritable. Yes. Yep. Dealers, yeah, Egbami, I'm a talker. Or I should not talk anymore. No, you should talk. You should talk. You should be yourself, right? But it's about timing, right? It's about timing. Just again, self-control, right? If somebody's not enjoying you talking, you could tell, right? You could tell if they're not being entertained, not entertainers in Alagbe, but being entertained as in like they're having a good time, right? They like if a guy is liking the idea that you're talking, you keep doing you, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? You're having a good time. The most important aspect of all of this is having a good time, having fun. None of this stuff matter if people are not having a good time. None of it. You can cram all you want. None of it matters if people are not having a good time. Okay. She says like their shit don't stink. Gotcha. Gomez says it varies from individual to individual. I don't put a thermometer on people being themselves. Exactly. Yep. Just stuff to be aware of, right? So on any one of these 8, right, you're probably anywhere from a 1 to 10. Think of it this way. Okay? You're 1 to 10. You're at some level on any one of this, okay? Okay, because there's, even if you say, oh, I don't have the weird self-conscious, you can't say that, okay? There's some space where you lose yourself. Maybe because you're having such a good time, you're not paying attention to people around you like that, right? There's some aspect of life that you are like that, right? So on anyone from just like number 1, there's some things in life you don't tolerate, you don't have patience for that, like you don't have time for that, right? And yes, you could be dealing with your husband and your wife, a romantic partner, right? So think of it like this, right? On any one of these ones, you're on level 1 to 10, right? The one where you are a 7 is something you should pay attention to. It's probably killing attraction in your romantic relationships. Okay? The ones where you are a 2 or a 3, right? Just assess them. The ones where you're a 2 or 3, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Okay? That 7, why is it a 7? Why should you be worried about 7? Because when you're put in the middle of crisis, it pushes up to a 9. And then depending on how irritable you are to the person in question, the person observing, or person you're trying to seduce, that might be a 10, even just scale lossy level, right? That's how you want to look at it. This is not a tool for you to look at as something exact science. No, it's just stuff to assess and self-reflect and say, some of this, the ones you're a 2 or 3 on here, is probably your strength in terms of your, let's say, for example, on number 2, you like to spend time alone by yourself. You're not the person, you're the person that your partner will say they're suffering from affection, or they're suffering from quality time with you because you are good by yourself, right? So you are probably a 2 or 3 here. You're not a needy person, right? But on the other side of the scale, the person you're dealing with, they're complaining, right? So now you can put some effort into it. Depends on what you're using it for. It depends on what your personal goals are, right? It just depends. It's so many variations here. It depends from people to people, from situation to situation, from your personality to your personality, people's temperament, all that kind of stuff, right? It just all depends. Okay. How are they? How's everyone doing? Good? All these master classes, make sure you're sharing them. Okay? Make sure you're sharing them. But anyway, I don't know if Life with Natu is still here. She shared something with me on Instagram. And I'm going to use this to round up today, because we'll dive deeper into this on Tuesday. On Tuesday, my wife will be hanging out with me here for Valentine's. We're going to be here, okay? It's called Behind Love and Attraction. It's a series that we've been doing forever, but we're going to do it right here on Man of Prestige, live with you all on Tuesday, okay? So I would love you all to be here. You're invited, okay? You're invited for that. All right. All right, so I'll be right back.